All right, good evening, everyone. Bear with me as I go through the usual testing phase. I'm making sure everything is on here. If I can hit the right buttons now. All right, so YouTube doesn't want to open up for me just yet, so let's check Rumble here. Okay, my videos. Okay, so currently live on Rumble, so that's good there. Double check YouTube one more time. YouTube does not want to be nice to me. Okay, and we are on YouTube. So, hello and good evening, everyone. You all know me. I am Hunter, aka the Ultra American TTRPGer, also aka the Jim Jones of Classic Gaming. If you don't know the joke, watch some previous videos because I know I've explained it more than once. And so today, I have a special guest with me today. He is the creator of this new King Arthurian module for Shadow Dark, not Shadow Dock. Don't know why that came out. Called Shadows of Camelot. And this is actually cool because that's King Arthur stuff is one of the things I have been interested in exploring TTRPG wise, especially when I found a printing of not a printing the PDF of the deities and demigods, and they have the entire King Arthurian legacy listed as stats for like your old school D&D gaming. But it's not just, but I'm not going to be talking about this whole thing. It wouldn't make any sense for me to talk about this without the special guest who made this object coming in. So let me just bring him in here and say hello.
Hey, Hunter. How's it going?
I'm doing good. Tell the audience who you are.
Okay. My name is William Harshman. I run the Runeforged tabletop gaming YouTube channel where I do commentary and reviews for various different indie TTRPG systems and supplements. And I very recently dipped my toe into the world of third-party publishing for Shadow Dark, which is how Shadows of Camelot came to be. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Yep. And no, back before we got started, backstage, you were asking me what I was doing this week. But now
Yes.
let me ask you: did you get any gaming in this week?
I did not. I just got done. So normally we play on Thursdays. We were 2 sessions deep into a new Shadow Dark campaign, Reclamation of Dwarfhome, when I decided to cancel the campaign and figure out if I wanted to do something a little bit different. I think I might be getting a little bit burnt out on Shadow Dark, so I figured I might change pace a little bit and try to find some sort of new system to play for a while.
Yep. And so it's actually funny because I consider it's because it's you, Dungeons and Dyslexia, and Fox Off RPG. You guys
Yeah.
are like the trifecta of RPG reviewers that I constantly follow and try to watch whenever I can.
Oh, well, cool. Thank you.
Yeah,
It's a good group.
because
And I'll add Red Mage GM to that list as well of awesome reviewers in the space.
I think I follow him too. I don't watch as much of his stuff, but I think I
Gotcha.
do follow him. I know Dungeons Dyslexia was running a friend of his. They did a Minds of Moria adventure using the
I
Shadow
saw
Dark
that.
system.
It looked
Earlier
cool.
today. Yeah, I was like, I got my hopes like, oh, is this like an actual monster I can purchase? Like, it's like no, so convert. I'm like, aw.
You might be able to reach out to the creator and get a copy, though. He probably can't charge for it, for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
But
that would be
you
a
do it.
whole Free League issue right there because Free League does all that. The one because I think that's a
Right.
One Ring adventure thing if I recall, and that's Free
Gotcha.
League's domain.
Gotcha.
So
We don't want anybody getting in trouble.
yeah, which I do have because I got a whole Free League couple bundle like months ago, and the One
Yes.
Ring was part of that. And
Cool.
I've heard good things about it. I just hadn't had a chance to play it
Same.
myself yet. So
Same. Yeah, I want to do that one, and also Dragon Bane's another one they make that I'm really excited about giving a
another
shot.
one I got I still need to do too. I want a physical version of that too because I've heard a lot of good things.
Yeah, I heard
But
they have
only
an amazing
because
starter set or beginner's
yeah,
box or whatever it is.
I only want it because I want to make my own version of Darkwing Duck for the game.
Okay, there's where we differ a little bit. I'm not a big duck guy person, but I've heard a lot of people that have said similar things, so you're not alone.
Yeah, because they have the duck race in there, and I think
They do.
they have a supplement where I think they introduce like you can make a frog person now as well. I believe
Okay.
too, so it's interesting. And then you had the
Gotcha.
Wolfkin on top of that as well. So
Yeah. I find that one a little bit less offensive, but yeah.
Well, I guess if you want to be offensive, you can always be an orc at this
That's true.
point.
That's true. I don't.
Which
Do they have orcs in Dragon Man? I can't remember. I know they got human elves, dwarf, halfling.
that's a very good question. I didn't know because but no, I was thinking I was gonna because speaking of orcs, I was gonna share with the audience the thing that hooked me up to you in the first place was when you did your review of Horde Wars Advanced.
Awesome. Yeah,
So
Todd seems like a cool dude. I think it's a cool game.
yeah. Oh, I should probably open up the chat to make sure I'm keeping up with. All right, I see Michael following us on YouTube. Who I actually the guy I was telling you about earlier that sent me this nice webcam I'm using right now. That's the
Oh,
same
cool.
dude. So
Yeah, Michael got you the hookup.
yep, and he's a cool dude. He likes to mess around and joke around, but it's all in love and war. So
Understandable.
yeah. So I guess it's been so long since I saw the video you did for Horde Wars. What were some of your thoughts about Horde Wars Advanced? What did you think of it?
I thought it was a really interesting system. I just like the idea of kind of it was like a kind of an old school kind of way to do like a high power, high fantasy setting in a way that I didn't find too egregious. Because normally I like to play more lower fantasy, more grounded fantasy. But I also like the idea of the PCs being pretty powerful and not having to run away from combats every 10 seconds in the same way that you might in more of an old school system. So the concept of it really appealed to me. And also, just Todd seemed like a pretty cool dude, and he was always very interested to talk about his game. And I think aside from that, it just seemed like there was a lot of play testing that had been done on the system as well. So it really did seem like a really solid system. And it came from I think his team is pretty small. It might just be him and like one or two other people. So that always impresses me.
Yep, and speaking of the devil, Foxoff also ended up appearing in the chat as well.
Hey,
So
hey Kieran, how's it
and
going, man?
oh, my buddy Gaddafi over on Rumble. It's good to see you. And I've been doing pretty well. I've just kind of been relaxing. I ended up calling into work today because I woke up my alarm, looked at my phone, then did the app, went to the app, called in, went back to sleep.
I think we've all been there.
Yeah, and then I was on. So because of that, I was on another stream earlier today by a VTuber buddy of mine named Dash Attack. And it's funny because the name of the podcast is called Old White Road because even though it's a lot of other like VTubers as well, they're all old white men. So
That's so funny. VTubing is not something that I've had a lot of exposure to, but I think it's really interesting.
I mean, I follow a lot of VTubers just because I like some of the content they put out.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily watch them for the gameplay. I just like their little shorts and all that is what like the most.
Gotcha.
But it's like I had Dash Attack on last week for just a fun little short segment because we reviewed a haters video that they made about me, and then we talked about some Digimon too because I grew up in the late 90s, early 2000s when that was Digimon was a thing.
Yeah, it was huge.
And so yeah, all right, but no, going back to the topic. I like that you bring up like you think this is high powered, high fantasy.
Yeah.
I think high fantasy. Yes, to me, I would not say this is high powered because it is very easy to die in this game if you're not paying attention to what you're doing. Especially because I remember one of the very first games I played. My first character I ever made was a Crusader Orc. The second character I made was a Gray Wizard Elf, and it was during one of the second games I played with that Gray Wizard Elf. We were walking through. There's an adventure in the Horde Wars book. We have to try to find a Lich's Tower, and of course, Todd has us all. Or Blackwall has us all roll for encounters and all that. Well, we failed the checks, and Blackwall's like, Hunter, you roll for the encounter. I rolled a 20 on the encounter. We then rolled a d6. Yeah, because if you get a 20 on your encounter roll, you then roll a d6 to see which high powered monster you get to face.
Nice.
And I rolled the Lich. Instead of us going to the Lich and his skeleton army all came to us.
How'd that encounter go?
We just barely survived.
Hey, that's a win. We take those.
Because I think at one point, because I think that whenever the Lich takes someone down, one of his effects is if he knocks out a player, he regains full health, and he did that one time during the battle.
Gotcha. Were you guys playing relatively low level characters, or was this a higher level?
Oh no, we were all still like first or second level, I think.
Okay, so that's what I mean when I say high powered. If you guys are fighting a Lich in his army at level 1 and beating them, that's pretty tough.
And I also like how you brought up grounded fantasy because I'm the complete opposite of that. If I'm playing a fantasy game, I want it to feel like a fantasy game.
Gotcha.
One of my biggest pet peeves is like people like your game needs to be realistic, which to me is like it needs to be like real life.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, no, I don't want it to feel like I'm playing a real life game. I want it to feel like I'm playing the fantasy, the sci-fi, the cyberpunk, all that. So that's where my mind goes on that without just going into like a it goes off into like an Alex Jones type rant kind of deal.
We don't need any ranting tonight. Well, we could probably get away with some of it.
It's like the Corvos are putting the frogs in the water to make them all gay.
But I was gonna say, so like Lord of the Rings, for example,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like especially like in the third age, it is more grounded than a lot of these other more high fantasy things that you're seeing right now, like, especially something like fifth edition or something like that. I was curious where you fall on the on Middle Earth as a setting.
Well, now that you bring that, it's kind of grounded, but at the same time, I would think not, because I mean, you still got your magic, you
Yeah.
still got your like your all your fantasy races and all that, your orcs, your urukai,
hmm
and all that. So it's, I guess I would call it low. I would call it like a low fantasy setting is what I would call it more than anything, because there
Okay.
is still magic, but wizardry is still very rare in that like Lord of the Rings type setting.
Sure.
So I would call it more low fantasy than just like grounded fantasy.
Gotcha. Okay, maybe this is just an issue in the words we're using, but yeah. So when I'm thinking about a setting that I want to run personally, I want to run something that's got like a Tolkien base to it, but I also like to add a little bit of like Warhammer Fantasy in on top of it. And then if I want to go like a little bit higher fantasy than that, I'll add a little bit of Warcraft on top of that. And that's kind of my wheelhouse in terms of the fantasy that I really enjoy.
Now, Warhammer Fantasy is one of those games I've been wanting to play because I got my
Yeah.
hands on the first edition PDF. Because
Oh,
when I was,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
because with the circles I run around, it's like I hear about this fantasy game.
Mhm.
Which version should I get? And all the old grognards tell me get the first edition. So
As
I got,
grognards are wont to do, they will tell you to get the first edition. Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's like the same grognards also told me to get first edition AD&D. I'm just like, I'll pass.
Yeah, that checks
Now,
out.
which is funny though, because Bears and Borderlands is a OE retro clone, and I love that. Like, I
What's
love
which
playing that
which
one.
game was it that you said?
Barrows and Borderlands. I was telling you
Yeah.
about earlier. That's the science
Yeah.
fantasy one.
Yeah.
It's like
Okay, gotcha.
you need to really look into that one, because I mean I've been playing it. Foxoff plays it,
Yeah.
and we both love it so much.
Foxhouse been hitting me up telling me I need to take a look at it. I'm not a huge fan of blending fantasy and sci-fi in the same game, so I tend to bounce off of those settings.
Well, poo on you.
I know that's generally I get that response quite a bit. I'm kind of used to it. But yeah, like I said, I like my Tolkienian base with a little bit of Warhammer Fantasy sprinkled in. So not a lot of high, not like super sci-fi. Don't really like high tech stuff in my games either. But you know how it goes.
So do you only play fantasy games, or have you ever
Yes.
played any other genre of
I have
games?
played other genres of games, but I frequently find myself returning to my core classic fantasy roots.
Okay, well, now I'm very curious to
Okay.
know, why is it like what is it about playing like a fantasy game that does it more for you than playing like, say, like Cyberpunk Red, or what's the game I'm thinking about, or like oh, I don't know why I only thought
That's okay.
Cyberpunk, like
I get what
Cyberpunk
you're
Red, or like,
saying. I think it's just a
yeah.
familiarity with all the tropes, and you can glean a lot about the world from very little information. So you don't have to do a ton of reading in terms of like lore or setting or background to really grok what's happening in the world.
I guess that makes sense. Like, what about superhero? Would that ever be something you'd be wanting to try, like a
I'm not a
superhero
huge
game,
super. So I'm
or?
not a big superhero dude. I like some of the early Marvel stuff, like the early Marvel movies, but that's pretty much the extent of my
Mm.
superhero ness. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the people who made the new Marvel RPG, they finally got their heads out of their butts, and they finally put the PDFs on Drive Through
Oh, cool.
RPG after not making them available for so long. Because there used to be you can only get the physical book, or you can buy it all through Demiplane,
Oh,
and
gotcha.
then they finally put all the PDFs out on Drive Through
Yeah, for
RPG.
some of the complaints that I have about drive-through, mostly the print-on-demand like process, I have to say I do like them quite a bit, and it's where I do a lot of most of my TTRPG
See,
shopping.
I've never had an issue with the quality, at least,
Yeah,
of their print
well,
on
that's good. I'm glad to
demand.
hear that.
It's like, so yeah, like all my books I bought through Drive RPG, they're still intact, they're still in
Sure.
one piece. Like it's not, but I'm not like breaking them open like every single
Yeah.
day and just reading them over and over again. Like my extent is, if I'm running a game and it's like, and I haven't read the through thing, I'll just flip through it like during the game too. Like I don't read and memorize everything off the
Gotcha.
bat.
Yeah, and to be clear,
So
when I was saying the POD process, I'm talking about like the creator side behind the scenes, just the length of time that it takes to get something approved for printing. I find to be a
oh
little
yeah,
excessive, but I'm sure it's a difficult process. I probably don't understand all the ins and outs, so there's
yeah.
probably a legitimate reason for it.
And then if you use another site like Lulu, it's like it's better quality than drive through, but you're paying extensively
Yeah.
more than what drive through RPG charges, because it's like you pay for the game and then it's like $5 for like shipping and
Yeah.
handling if you do it that way. Like I just put in because I just put an order for two other. I just put an order for 3 more hardcover books through Dread
Okay,
Through
nice.
RPGs recently. So because I got 2 books that were part of the same Kickstarter of another game I play called the Red Die
Okay, not
System,
familiar with that one.
which is basically like it's Savage Worlds Light is what I would call it
Okay,
as, because it's like you have the die size for your stats, and then but it's funny is it's a competitive roll against system to see if you can beat the GM's
okay,
like
yep.
roll deal with this. And then I also got the uh the author who made Barrows of Borderlands just released a new alt cover omnibus book. Are you familiar with Castle Grief at all? The creator of what's that
Yeah,
game he made?
I've heard.
Calorath?
Yeah, it's like a solo dungeon crawler game.
So, yeah, it's like
Yeah,
that. It's Calorath is
yeah,
what
yeah.
it's
I've
called.
seen it, but I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, yeah. He actually also got joined the server, and he's now done some artwork for Barrows of
Cool.
Borderlands, and he made an alternative cover. So I got the Barrows of Borderlands Black Label Edition hard omnibus book now coming my way as
Awesome. Sounds
well.
like you got
So,
quite a haul.
which is now well, here's the thing. I bought the second printing booklet, which comes in this box set. Which hold on, let me show it off to you really quick. I got like everything up here. So this was the second printing box set, which he made it to look
Oh,
just
that's cool.
like the old
Yeah,
school. So it's got the but now, because he just did a revamp, he sent me the third printing booklets. So I have completely new
nice.
booklets. I have the second printing original omnibus, which is first, and then this new one coming will be the third printing omnibus. So I now have like 4 different versions of the
That does
game
seem like a
now.
lot of versions. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's nice because I'm going to be running the game at a local con in
Oh, cool.
October. So I'll have versions. So I'll be able to hand it out to people so that when I go character creation with
That's
them.
good. That's
So
exciting. Hopefully, there's not too many differences between the different versions.
there's a couple
Yeah.
extra things in there that's in the third printing.
Mm.
Like in the third printing, it introduces the playing the robots as like a race
Okay.
option, where it was only part of the. He had a supplement. It's called Radioactive Boogaloo,
Okay.
which was a lot of stuff he was playtesting, and then he moved some stuff from that to that, and then he's finalizing the Radioactive Boogaloo stuff to be like its
Mhm.
own thing, and then he's got Radioactive Tougaloo out now, which is more playtest stuff he's
That
working
makes
on.
sense. The naming convention checks out. Yep.
Yeah, so, but yeah, that's enough about me and all that. So let's get to talking about Shadows over Camelot. What gave? I guess my first question would be, what gave you the inspiration for this
Well, we were
module?
actually talking a little bit about before the stream here. I was actually watching a lot of those old Arthurian stories, like movies from my childhood, like Excalibur, the Merlin Show on BBC. There's a whole bunch of different ones that are quoted in the references section. So I just stumbled across some clips of them on YouTube, and I was like, man, I really need to go revisit those movies. And I did that. And I was like, man, there's something here. Like I could definitely make a campaign out of this. I didn't know if I didn't think I wanted to set it directly in the time of Arthur, but I thought like a cool like post Arthurian setting where things had kind of gone downhill a little bit since the fall of Camelot would make for a really cool like Shadow Dark campaign.
Yeah, and then like hold on, I'm going to change how this looks a little bit. I don't know if I want to go with
You're
this
good.
layout. You know, let me see. Hold on, I'm thinking here. Do I want?
You're
Let's just
good.
do picture in picture. I guess that's a typical way to go.
Works for
All right,
me.
and then I'm just trying to make it look pretty. Fit
Yeah.
with.
Hopefully the people at home
Okay,
can
there we
see
go.
it.
That's a little better.
Yeah.
That should be a little better now. Uh, yeah, and so some other movies I was thinking about because I was talking about how I saw Excalibur for the first time, but I was also
Yep.
thinking of
Awesome.
Disney Sword into Stone was one of my childhood
Yep.
movies I watched,
Yep. That was
and
a
but I
classic.
also think, and then there was also the Camelot movie.
The Camelot movie.
I
Like
think
a
it was
kid. Yeah. Was it like
no
was
Quest
it a
for
children's
Camelot.
movie?
I think it was something like
Okay.
that.
I'm not familiar with
Hold,
that one.
hold on. I'm looking up now. I believe it was a DreamWorks movie, if I
Okay.
recall. Which is hold on. Yeah, Quest for Camelot, released in 1998, is what it was. It focused on these two, like maybe late teen young adults,
Okay.
and
Gotcha.
it takes place. It's probably like it takes place like during the time when King Arthur's rule, and there's this whole plot about this bad guy trying to take Excalibur from King Arthur,
Okay.
and then after like King Excalibur gets like thrown away, now they gotta go find it. It's actually a really good movie, and I really loved the soundtrack.
Yeah, gotcha.
So
I'm actually surprised I haven't seen it. That was right in my heyday, but If
Yeah.
it was one of those where modern time folk get sent into the past, I'm a little bit less excited about those than I
Oh
am.
no, this was set during the King Arthurian times. This was not
Oh,
like
okay,
you're from
okay,
modern day set to the past. This focused
gotcha,
on two characters in like because the main one of the main character, the main chick in the movie, like her father was like one of the knights of the Round Table, not like a canon Round Table guy, just
gotcha.
happened was a knight of the Round Table in the for story purposes.
Understood.
Yeah, so that was, I just think about those. I think about those two movies also when I think about like my King Arthur stuff that I liked, and I even remember freaking like seventh grade, yeah, seventh grade history class. We had a whole like week we learned about King Arthur and all that.
Oh, cool. I don't think we ever learned anything about King Arthur in school, which is a shame, but I understand.
Yeah, because I remember I think that's really kind of interesting because we actually went through like the entire timeline of like with the
Wow.
like starting with like Uther Pendragon, his rise and his fall,
Yeah.
birth of King Arthur, the sword, yeah, like the actual literal sword to stone, not in the anvil.
Yep. You must have had an awesome teacher. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and then we get to because I also brought up deities and demigods.
Yes.
That old school supplement for AD&D had an entire section based on King Arthur and his knights of the
Yep.
Round Table.
Yep. It's a really cool piece of historical TTRPG ness. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so I guess not to try to spoil too much, but give us like the highlight for Shadows of Camelot.
Yeah, sure. So I don't necessarily mind if we spoil it too much, but I'll try to keep it relatively spoiler light. It takes place about a century or two after the fall of Camelot. Things have gone really bad in the downfall, and also there is a Robin Hood component to the campaign as well. The first like maybe third of the campaign does feature Robin Hood as Merry Men and some of the other characters from those stories. But they're really trying to keep the realm together in King Richard's absence. He's obviously gone off to fight in the Crusades, as you might expect. And things are going really bad because there are some ancient evil forces that people might recognize that are kind of reawakening in the land. And it's kind of up to the PCs to explore, figure out what's going on, and try to quell some of these spirits of the past.
Yeah. Did you ever actually, because I just saw Gaddafi's comment, did you ever play the Pendragon game by Chaosium?
I have not played it. I do own it, but maybe one day. It looks like a very cool game.
Do you have an older version or the newer version? Because I know
I
they
think
just released a newer version.
I think I have the relatively new version.
I have heard, just again, the circles I run through,
Yeah.
the newer version is not as good as the older ones,
So
or
one
what I've been hearing. So,
so one thing I have heard is they've stripped out a lot of the supernatural elements from kind of the newer version. I don't know to what extent that's true, but if that's the case, then yeah, I probably would prefer to play a little bit of an older version.
yeah,
Yeah.
which to me, I feel like that would, to me, like I wouldn't mind playing just medieval knights, but if it's just medieval
Yeah.
knights and there's nothing else really happening, like want that I would love that supernatural stuff because I mean, you got the Lay in the Lake, you
Yeah.
got Merlin and all his stuff that happens too. Uh, I always because it's like Queen Morgan or Queen Morgana, however, whichever name she goes by, depending on how you read it. So,
Sure. Yeah, Morgana
but
is a super fascinating character, and that's someone that you might run into over the course of the campaign if you go digging.
yeah, yeah, it's like I actually, and then again, this is like, yeah, I haven't read fully through this thing yet, but it's
Sure.
like again, King Arthur, I was gonna want to get it nonetheless. So,
Yeah, I was hoping I could pull people in with some brand recognition.
yeah,
I think the Arthurian tale
and
is awesome, and I don't think it gets enough attention in modern fantasy.
so wait, Robin Hood was when during the same timeline as King Arthur?
So it depends on what version of the mist you're looking at, but generally speaking, they come pretty far after because so there's like many different versions of this, right? So there's some versions where Arthur is kind of like just after the Roman withdrawal from England, and there's other versions where he's set a little bit more contemporary to King Arthur. I think like and maybe it's a T.H. White's Once a Future King. They kind of share a timeline very briefly, where they're very close to each other. But for Shadows of Camelot specifically, Camelot fell about 100 years prior to the time period of Robin Hood.
Yeah, but you do realize which version of Robin Hood I'm thinking of now that I brought them up because it's the same version that everyone thinks of now.
Tell me which one you're thinking of, and I'll let you know if you're right.
Disney's Fox Robin Hood.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, so I
Because
actually really I really enjoyed that movie when I was a kid. It was not a huge inspiration for Shadows of Camelot.
I mean, I assume not, but I mean, every time someone says Robin Hood, like I've seen a few of the other Robin Hood movies that have came out like since
Yeah,
that time, like with the exception of the one that had like Jamie Foxx in it, which that one I heard was not a good one at all.
it's just
But I,
it's more of a parody than a straight retelling. So I guess it just
yeah,
depends on your inclination towards
yeah.
parodies.
So,
Yeah,
but immediately like I think of like, oh, there's like it's like King's. It's like you got this. It's like this weird Camelot like post like grim dark setting, and there's just a fox in green tights running around through the forest.
yeah. I don't think you'll see any anthropomorphic foxes in this setting, but you can always sneak one in if that's your
Yeah.
inclination.
I mean, doesn't I mean that doesn't mean you can't have that if you want to go into the work to build it. So
I literally can't stop you from doing it, nor would you even if I could. So go nuts.
so I do like this map though. This is a really nice hex map that you got. Did you make this or who made this?
Thank you. So I actually kind of set the outline for it, but it was actually my friend Ian who actually went in and did all the fine tuning on it. So I think he did a really great job with it.
Okay, and I guess I'm just not because it's like I'm a strickler for, it, but I'm just curious to know like is it how accurate is this to like how like it would have been like
Not at
Camelot at
all.
the time? Not that.
0%. I made no real attempt to make this historical. This setting actually, and this is a good point. Thanks for bringing it up. This takes place in the world of Shadowdark, like in the canonical world of Shadowdark. So you will see
Oh,
references to, Shun and Saint Taragnus plays a pretty big role in the setting. So I try to take the stories of King Arthur and Robin Hood and integrate them as best I could into the existing implied setting of Shadowdark.
okay. That's kind of a neat concept because I never would have thought about that but I guess it's no different than what I'm working on now because I actually have talked with Blackwell about this is because one of my favorite Fight E settings that I've been looking into is
Mhm.
the Dragonlance setting.
Yeah, I love Dragonlance.
And
I'm a sucker for
and what
Dragonlance. Yeah.
yeah, and what I talked about with Todd was we've actually talked with him and I now have a way to run Dragonlance, but it's gonna take place in the Horde Wars world.
Oh, cool. I actually think that's
So
probably a pretty good fit. Yeah.
because it's like all because literally because there's so many all the monsters in this I
Yeah.
could easily use for like the Dragonlance monsters because you got the Draconians in here and all that. There
Yeah.
actually is a Dragon Queen, not like Tiamat style, but there's still a Dragon Queen nonetheless in the
Yeah.
book. So it's literally just be like the Dragon Wars, but taking place in like Mercia, Brigmari, Grimstead, all that.
I think that's
Instead
cool.
of like I don't have to recreate the world of Kryn to go to do with this. I could just be like, hey, here's the Horde Wars world, and Dragonlance takes place in it at least in this version of it.
I actually like that quite a bit. I know the guys over at Black Lodge Gaming they're also trying to make like a Dragonlance something in Mithras, the Mithras system, which I also think is really interesting.
I have not heard anything about that, but
Okay.
I don't have the best. Between as most people know, I don't really have the best relationship with Black Lodge Games. They have me blocked on X currently, so.
Okay, gotcha.
But I
No
I
worries.
own
These
their
things
I own
happen.
yeah I own their stuff though because I got their Shut Oyster book
Oh, cool.
because mostly because I'm friends with one of the artists that did a lot of the artwork for it. So
Gotcha.
and I actually did run it for like a mini Shadow Dark campaign I did where they went through the whole thing. And of course, I'm flipping through it and all the pictures. I look at the bearded lady. I just lost it at that picture of the bearded lady
Yeah, I flipped
in
through it.
the
It's a very
Chuck
interesting
Oyster.
book. Yeah,
It
it's
is,
an interesting book for sure.
yeah, very much a nod to the old school harlot table they used to have back in the
Yes,
day.
in the AD&D DM's guide.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
yep. Where I think it was like you rolled like 2d10 or 2d100s, and you were like the pure harlot or something like that kind of deal.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with the individual entries, but I'm familiar with the concept that it exists, and I'm sure I've seen it at some point.
Yeah. So all right. So you got the campaign structure here, which is just kind of like so this is how would I describe it? So it kind of takes so you kind of like have an order that everything kind of has to take place in, or is this something where it's like people can just place their characters in and they just kind of go about doing whatever they want?
Yeah, so this is definitely an optional piece of the setting. I know that most folks in the Shadow Dark community kind of want to run a more like sandboxy, old school kind of game, and the campaign setting can definitely sustain that style of play. But when I played it personally, I did play it as more of a more linear, more narrative campaign. And if GMs want to take that approach, then here is a simple, 2-page, 3-act structure that can give you some
Yeah.
guidance on, what are some of the rough milestones that you might hit as you're running through
It's
the
like
campaign.
yeah, I see that and immediately I think of to I don't know if you follow him on YouTube. He's a content creator named Zach the Bold, and he does a lot of
And
like
I'm not
D and
familiar.
D parody content. he does a lot of like he's a young guy, a lot of D&D type stuff. But one of the things like he
Okay.
talks about like his player. One of the jokes is like his players like point to the DM, and go railroad, railroad.
Yeah, yeah, that is something that people who do not play in my game, they throw accusations at me about that all the time. I don't like the word railroad. I think it's pejorative, but I think linear can definitely fit the style of game that I run on occasion. But there's nothing wrong with sandboxes. I think that the old school community is onto something when they say that that is a very cool way to play the game. It's just not necessarily the way that I want to run every campaign. And I tried the best that I could to make this particular campaign setting appeal to people who wanted to do either a sandbox or a more narrative style of campaign.
Yeah. So just looking over at some comments that we got here really quick. Foxoff Hood was also a title given to criminals at other times in England. Never would have known that. So that's
Here
interesting.
in with the British facts, you know.
All right. And then Gaddafi on Rumble, the 4th edition. I think he's talking about Pendragon here. Had a
Yep.
lot of magic for player characters, but that got stripped out in 5th edition, and 6th edition narrows magic to a couple of pages. Oh, I
Yeah,
thought this
that's a
new
bummer.
edition was the 5th edition, so I didn't realize it was a 6th edition. And then another one from Gaddafi. He said, "I've read that Greg Stafford was really against player characters being magic users and wanted to phase it back out." Now,
I
I
can
don't think
understand.
uh, was Greg Stafford the author of the Pendragon, or
I believe so. Yeah, I think he's passed away recently, unfortunately, but I think he was the
hmm,
original main driving force behind Pendragon and various other
well,
systems. I think he's done a lot of stuff.
yeah, I think I saw like there was like a free PDF. I think of an old version I saw at one point. I think I may have
Mhm.
glanced through it, but I never paid it that much attention. Just because I'm not the biggest fan of a lot of the Chaosium games, just because of how their books are laid out. Especially
Oh, interesting.
when I was trying to read through the 7th edition Call of Cthulhu, because I was going to use that for like a Bioshock game, a Bioshock tabletop game at one point,
Yeah,
and I hated how the character creation makes you flip back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Now,
that is annoying.
a buddy of mine, Vindicated RPG is what he goes by, actually made a rules light version called. Hold on, I'll bring up back us up here for a moment. If I can do it correctly. No, I can't do it. It's called Cthulhu Unleashed, and it's very
Okay.
much a rules light version of Call of Cthulhu.
Oh
And
yeah, that's tiny. I actually kind of like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
but it's only it's only like 50 pages is what it
Yeah,
is.
I don't feel like those kind of Call of Cthulhu games have to be super dense in terms of rules. So I'm kind of
You know,
surprised someone hasn't already
and
done that.
this one does focus more on like modern day than like 1920s, like Call
Gotcha.
of
That's
Cthulhu
that's
mostly
fine. Yeah,
focuses on. Which I like the idea because I like the idea of like you could just create like some random characters modern day and they're all in this weird situation kind of deal, like almost a
sure.
Silent Hill esque type feeling.
Yeah, I like Silent Hill. I think that's cool. It's a cool
Yeah.
series.
Okay, and then okay, so you got all your counters here per usual.
Yep.
The Feywood. Okay, okay. Now this name catches my attention. What is the Mists of Camelot?
Yeah, so the Mists of Camelot is the area directly adjacent to the ruins of Camelot, where there's a supernatural mist that's kind of taken over the area. And that's kind of where there's going to be some spoilers in here. So, plug your ears if you don't want spoilers, but there's a very heavy undead presence in the mists. And the undead really can't leave the mist area due to some other magical shenanigans that's happening in the campaign setting. So, and as the campaign goes on, that mist might expand and keep expanding until ultimately it becomes a real problem kind of later in the campaign.
That makes me think of because I just think about this. One of my other favorite childhood movies growing up by Disney was the Black Cauldron movie,
Yes,
which is
thank
based
you.
on its
Don't
own, which is based on a book
good.
series as well. But I remember the movie mostly, and
Yeah,
that's got some like Arthurian vibes too, because you
it
got a boy,
does.
you got the sword, you got the Horned King, which was
Yep.
like one of my all-time favorite Disney villains was the Horned King, and when he got to finally summon that army of undead with the cauldron.
I'm so happy you know about Black Cauldron. I feels like most people I talk to have never heard of it, and I think that's a shame. I think it's a really underrated dark fantasy attempt from Disney to make something really cool, and I'm sorry to see that it didn't take off more in the general
Yeah,
populace.
it was one of those things where it's like people where it was good. It was like it's got like a short burst of popularity and then just kind of died off quickly. Is
Yeah.
what it was. But I remember because this was back in my day when we had VHS tapes and all that still at the
Uh huh. Uh
time,
huh.
and we had a lot. We had like a huge collection of Disney VHS tapes, and the Black Culture was one of them. And then you got to about the late '90s or 2000s. It was the VHS and DVD combos that was happening at the time
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah,
before
I
we
heard they
all
actually. Go ahead.
before we all went to DVD. That's all I was gonna say there.
Yeah. So I know that the Black Cauldron had some issues in production. I think they had to do some reanimating. They had to move the structure around. I think they did a test screening. It did not play well with audiences. So they had to do a bunch of changing stuff up. So
Yeah,
fortunately,
and
probably didn't get the attention it deserved.
I think the original like the Black Culture story was like way more dark than Disney
Yes,
did it, and
yes,
I think there was actually a Disney deleted scene that was animated but not fully, but it's out there if you find it,
yep,
where you actually like see like because you know that scene when the knights come out of the water to for the real ones and they like launch themselves on top of the other like human flesh knights.
yeah.
There was apparently a deleted scene where you saw the human knights become skeletal.
Yeah, I know that there is a deleted scene that sounds correct to me. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, so you actually like the flesh peels off and blisters and all that, where it's just their exposed skeletons and all
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
very
that would have been
cool.
nightmare
Not very
fuel for.
Disney. Yeah,
Yeah, but I'm trying to think. And yeah, and then but then you go watch Bambi, and then Bambi's mom gets shot. So
true. I imagine, yeah, it's
oh,
a little more graphic than Disney wanted to go at that time.
yep. Albion points of interest. So just all your various different locations on the map that you can go visit. That's
Yep.
I see this a lot now in games. Surprisingly enough, is especially because I also have Chubby Funster's Shadow Rim,
Yeah.
and he's got like a good chunk of that book is the locations because it's a
Yes.
straight up like Skyrim with serial numbers filed off. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I got this. I tried to mimic the style of Kelsey's Curse Scroll zines, like her official mini settings, pretty closely. There were a couple changes that I made in terms of layout. Like, for example, I know a lot of her points of interest take up like a really, like maybe just a paragraph. And I felt that at least half a page for each point of interest was about right for what I wanted to do with the setting. But the actual formatting and stuff is very much ripped directly from Curse Scrolls, which I think are very cool products.
yep, yep. And then you got your usual, you got all your carousing and what is charity in this
Yeah.
case? I don't think I've seen this one before.
Yeah, so Charity is an alternate take on carousing that I thought was probably a little bit more thematic for the type of game that I wanted to run. In traditional Shadowdark, the crawlers, as they call them, are kind of near do wells, kind of rogues, bandits. They're going out, they're getting a bunch of money, they're spending it all on carousing, and that's kind of the vibe that Shadowdark goes for. But with this being more of kind of like a noble dark kind of setting, where you're kind of living in the shadow of this like Camelot, which was this great virtuous place. I wanted to create an alternative to carousing that was a little bit more in line with what I viewed as like the moral center of the campaign. So I created Charity, which is just basically just a reskin of carousing, but again a little bit more thematic in terms of what it's doing for the campaign. And it also ties into the campaign very closely in terms of the specific things that can happen as a result of rolls on the carousing table. So you can see that there are some specific enemies that you can make as a result of carousing. There are little like visions and portents that you can get about various different important areas in the campaign, and it's just a way to tie in this thing with just a way to tie it in a little bit more closer to the campaign than the normal carousing rules.
Yep. And then when I love always looking over the bestiaries for anything Shadowdark because
Me too.
this is one of my absolute favorite things about just Shadowdark in general is just how simplistic the monster listing is.
Yeah.
Because like literally for bandit, hard bitten rogue and tattered leathers and a hooded cloak. And then you got the normal stats, and that's all. It's
Yep.
not like, hold on. Like, okay, here's my Chris Strahd book.
Yeah. 5e stat blocks are wild.
Yeah, and then just hold on. Yeah, I'm trying to just pull one up at the bat. Like freaking freaking this whole hold on, let me okay, I'm gonna see if I can increase my size again here really quick so I can show this off a little better.
Do it.
Switch if I can. Come on, work with me here. There we go. Yeah, this is like literally just one page is all Count Strahd.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody's going to have one page, it probably should be Strahd, but that is an awful lot of information for a stat block.
Yeah, and because like it's like they have to put all the lore down in that same thing as well, and then you got to give them 20 different abilities and all that.
Yeah,
And so it's
layer
just
actions,
crazy.
legendary actions. Yeah, it's a bit bloated for my personal taste, but I understand why it exists.
Yeah, I told them I was going to make creative. I told the people who I'm running this game for, I'm taking creative liberties with it. So because again,
Yeah.
game has been out for like so long and it's been ran by
Oh
so
yeah,
many people so many times.
for sure.
So it's Countess Strahd is what I'm doing.
Yep.
for
I
the
think that's
game.
a pretty.
So
I think that's a pretty common variation. Yeah.
yeah, but again, I was just kind of taking my own liberties with it for the most part. But I just, again, just Shadow Dark, just really love, just very simple. I think the one exception was her version of the Beholder, just
Yeah. The
because you have
10-eyed
all the
oracle or
effects from all the
something.
different, yeah, the 10-eyed Oracle,
Yeah.
because you have all the different eye effects.
Yeah.
But even
But
then,
even
that's not,
still, yeah, it's much
yeah,
easier to run than the 5e version of a beholder. So I don't think we can really
yeah.
complain too much.
Okay, I know you got Fomorian. Is it supposed to be a nod to that Fomoria Shadow Dark book that got
So
released?
it's not, but I'm sure we're probably drawing inspiration from the same source. Fomorians are giants from Irish legend, and I've worked a little bit of Irish mythology into the Shadows of Camelot setting as well. This is actually the last of the Fomorians. He was previously the Fomorian king, and you might encounter him out in the world if you go exploring the deep dark places further north.
All right, was the same guy who made your map that also did this too, or was it a different artist?
No, so the map was my friend Ian. A lot of these other pieces are various different pieces of stock art that I got
Ah,
off of Drive Through RPG, and I did do two commissioned pieces. Hankerin Furnail, aka Runehammer, did the wonderful piece of the undead King Arthur on the cover, and then John Torres, the basic expert, actually did the art for the Green Knight in this book. I thought he did a great job with that as well. So very cool pieces. I think so. I'm a little biased, but I think there's some great art in this book.
yeah. So it's interesting that you have a Green Knight in this book, and then Kelsey Dion also released a Green Knight stat block, I think, as well at one point.
Yes,
Because
true.
I remember getting an email
Yeah.
about that too.
Yeah, I think that her Green Knights were like an order of knights. They were maybe nature oriented that were
They were
protecting
nature
against.
ordered, if I
Yeah,
recall.
yeah.
Yes.
They're antagonists to the Knights of Saint Idris, whereas this version is like this is the Green Knight from the Arthurian legend. Yeah.
I love that. I'm assuming that this picture's for the Cathpalug, but you have it right above the centaur, so I immediately thought this was a centaur picture at first.
Yes, layout can be tricky, but yes, that is
Yeah.
that was the best thing that I could find for the Cath Palugo. It's not actually that's actually probably the one piece of art in the book that I didn't think fit like super well. So I'm a little bit I'm disappointed I didn't find something a little bit better, but I do think the artwork itself is quite good, just maybe not quite on. I was looking for more of like a panther kind of thing, but I couldn't find anything that really spoke to me. So that's what we ended up going with.
Yeah. Yeah, Sir Galahad was the one that was supposed to be left behind to watch over the Holy Grail, right?
Yes, and that's yeah. So I think in the version that I'm familiar with, he is the one that found the Grail, and he is the one that ended up like ascending. Like he was like too pure and too good for the world, so he was the only one that succeeded on the Grail quest and like took up the final challenge. And in this version, I have him being kind of a stand-in for the Knight of the Grail that you see in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. He's kind of playing that role in this setting.
Yeah. Then here's your Green Knight, a sinister looking foe with green skin, hair, and armor. He wields a vicious jade great axe. Oh, he's like what are those tree people from Lord of the Rings called again?
Ents.
Ents. That's what it makes me think of. He looks like an
Yeah,
ent.
he's vaguely and like if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend the 2021 film The Green Knight. It's a little bit trippy, it's a little bit artsy, but if you're not familiar with the story of the Green Knight, I think it's a pretty good way to watch that story. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just you got here's wait. Oh, I don't I guess this is just something you did. Sir Gawain becoming a headless knight was probably of your doing. I'm guessing it's not like, or is that actual like art canon lore with Sir Gawain that he becomes headless or something?
So I think the original story is that he actually escapes from his encounter with the Green Knight with his head. But in other versions, it's a little bit more ambiguous. And in my version, he went to go meet the Green Knight, lost the duel, and was beheaded. And then now he has been reanimated as undead, and he's roaming the lands, trying to get vengeance on the Green Knight and try to get his head back so that he can find some sort of eternal slumber.
Now I'm just picturing a King Arthurian version of Sleepy Hollow happening in
Yes,
this
that's
world.
100%. That was a huge inspiration.
Which there
Yeah.
is actually a Sleepy Hollow RPG that exists out there.
Oh,
I've
really?
seen it on Drive Through RPG. I'll have to
That's
find it and
interesting.
share it with you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you find it, will you send it to me? Because I kind of want to make something in that vein for Shadow Dark. I'm thinking about doing something like that, so that'd be cool.
yeah, and then oh, King Arthur's Mount. Ooh, a undead fire dragon. That's actually kind of badass.
Yeah, so this is meant to. So in Arthurian legend, there are I think there's at least two dragons that are referenced. I think it's a red and a white that are supposed to symbolize Britain and Wales. I think. Don't quote me on it, but this is the Dragon of Albion that once served as King Arthur's Mount. This is an invention that I had, and in the last battle with a person I'm not going to mention, both of them were slain. and as a result of a curse, they were reanimated, and now Arthur and his dragon kind of stalk the ruins of Camelot, waiting for the day when they can escape the mist and reclaim Camelot for themselves, reclaim the kingdom for themselves.
All right. Stopping for a minute to look at some of the comments here that we got.
Sure.
Oh, for Gaddafi, there was so there were three different
Man.
versions of 5, and then 6 apparently. Then yes, confirming that Greg was the author and he did pass away.
Yeah, very sad.
Hold on, this is stupid. And then he actually has a question here. If it'll pop up, was Bernard Cornwell's Arthur series an inspiration for moral tone of this setting?
It was not. I think I've only read maybe the first book in that series, and it was ages and ages ago. But I did really like the series, and I'm also a huge fan of Sharp, not from the books necessarily, but from the Sean Bean. Was it a BBC miniseries or something? I absolutely love that show. It is so fantastic. It's kind of a low budget military drama, but man, it's so good. Sean Bean does such a great job. But to answer your question, no, it was not, because I'm not familiar enough with it recently to have it be an inspiration. But I imagine there are probably places where it echoes very closely to that type of story, because I think Bernard Cornwell's pretty cool.
I feel like there was a King Arthur book I did read. I just can't remember what it was now.
There's quite a few. There's quite a few of them out there. But yeah, the Winter King in that I think, was it a trilogy or a series, is one of the more popular versions of it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna drive me nuts. But another night movie I just remembered that I really loved was A Knight's Tale with Heath Ledger.
Yes, I'm a big fan. Even though I'm not usually there's like a lot of modern inspiration in that movie. Like there's modern music, there's like modern speech and stuff. Regardless of those things, where I don't usually like, I thought that was such a phenomenal movie, and it's one of my favorites. Yeah,
it was a really great movie, and I've actually been seeing the post around where they took like those main 4 actors, but that were in different movies.
Yeah,
and then it puts them together, and it's like we all remember when these 4 were like in one movie.
Yeah.
So it was I remember like it was one of my dad's favorite movies, and we all watched it with him, and it became a family favorite too.
Yep. Yeah, we used to watch it a lot when I was younger too. It's great movie. I highly recommend people go watch it if they haven't seen it.
Yep. Hold on, getting back to this really quick.
Sure.
We got King Richard, which wasn't that Robin Hood's main villain. I think was King Richard.
So he's not usually the villain in the story necessarily. In some versions, Arthur fought with him or beside him in the Crusades, and Richard is the quote unquote good king. But his younger brother Prince John is like probably the main source of issues for Robin Hood in his story, other than the sheriff. They kind of work together.
And of course, you have to have the lion head there, which Prince John was a lion in the movie.
Yeah, so Richard the Lionhearted is a nickname that he goes by commonly. And yes, you're correct. The shield is an homage to the fact that he is the Lionhearted.
Yes. You do realize this is just further making me want to now have like canon Disney Robin Hood happening in this game.
Hey man,
just more grimdark.
If you want to convert this to be more anthropomorphic, like I said at the beginning, I can't stop you, nor would I even if I could. So go nuts.
All right, then Merry Men, Friar Tuck. You can't have the Merry Men without Friar Tuck. So.
You gotta have Friar Tuck.
Yeah, it's actually funny because I ran a City Mist one shot one time, in which I had like a modern day version of Robin Hood's Merry Men.
Yeah,
it happened, and so I had like Little John, Friar Tuck, all that. So, but of course, Little John had a little brother named Big John. So,
and was he bigger or smaller than Little John?
Well, it was Little John's little brother, Big John.
Gotcha. But
it made sense.
But physically, was he larger or smaller?
No, he was like a kid brother.
Okay, gotcha.
So
nice. Makes sense. Maybe he grew up to be really big. That's why you have the name.
Yeah. Then there's our Robin Hood, Lord Robert.
Yep. I did a little bit of messing with some of the names and titles in here. So the GM could, if they wanted to, try to pull a fast one on their players and introduce a character a certain way, like as Lord Robert. They may not make the connection right away that this is, in fact, Robin Hood from the legend. And they could discover that organically as they played through the first couple levels of the campaign.
Now, and then I don't know why, but I've always, when it came to King Arthur, I always loved the Morgana and the Mordred storylines with them. Just something about Mordred always stood out to me.
He's a really interesting character, and I actually really like his portrayal in the Excalibur movie. I think they did a really good job with that. I love his armor too. It's like the gold, like kind of weird faceplate thing. I think it was really cool.
Yeah, because see, that kind of threw me off for a split second because usually a lot of the interpretations of King Mordred, he's very much like an edgelord, very dark, almost goth looking, like
Yeah,
black hair, black armor, all that. That's how everyone's always pictured him. But then I
yeah,
think about it, it's like, no, he would be a prince. He would be raised to hold himself up like royalty.
yeah, yeah. So in this version, he's pretty edgy, but that kind of is how it goes with the territory, you know.
Yep. And so, yeah, you got Mordred the Ascended. Oh, he drank from the chalice.
Yeah, so if he's alive in your campaign, which you can stop this from happening, but this is more spoilers, but it is what it is. Morgana's main goal right now is to recover the divine chalice, which is my analog for the Holy Grail, and give it to Mordred so that she can resurrect him, and he can become the general of her armies, and they will, storm the Southlands with their legions and their hordes of troops, and try to take back Camelot from Arthur.
Was this stock art as well? This picture of that you used for Mordred?
It is, yep.
That's really cool, though. I would
Yeah.
that artist did a good job on that one. I
Yeah,
did
I was
like
I was a
that.
big fan of that one. Yeah,
All right.
and
Oh,
what's really funny about that is like the original design for Mordred was a little bit different, but then I found this stock art and I actually went back and made some changes to the mechanics of the character to more closely reflect the image there. So it's a cool. It's like art influencing design and vice versa. It's kind of an interesting tidbit.
all right. And then there's Prince John right there.
Yep,
Speaking of the devil, so
that guy.
and then I like how you have one called Questing Beast. I immediately just think of the Questing Beast YouTuber just popping out with a book in hand,
Yes,
like, let me tell you about this book right
that would
here.
actually be funny if you were playing with a group that was familiar with his stuff. I think that would be really funny. Yeah.
Yeah, legendary beast was a serpent's head, leopard's body, and a lion's haunches. Its call is like the baying of many hounds.
Yeah. So
It's almost Chimera-esque is
it
the
is
feeling I get
it
off
is
of it.
Chimera-esque. That is correct. And this pulled directly from the Arthurian legend. Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, Silver Knight, Dame Eleanor. I believe there was at least one woman that was part of the round table, I think, at one point.
Yeah, I don't know. There's so many different versions of the Arthurian legend. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but it's definitely possible. And also, like this takes place like a century afterwards. So, I mean, even if that wasn't the case at the time of Camelot, that could be the case, in this current timeline.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I'm just scrolling through. I'm just really appreciating a lot of this. Oh, and then we get some trinkets and treasures. Uh, Hold on, making sure I wield this right. Cinder Mall
Cindermall, yep.
makes me think of. I think it gives off Mjolnir vibes. Is what I was thinking about it at first. So
Yeah, a little bit. The picture definitely there's like some lightning stuff going on in there, so I can see why you
yeah,
made the connection.
yeah. I was part of the Old School Essentials campaign for a while. Which, if you don't know what that is, it's
I'm
basically
familiar.
if you take basic expert, but clean up all the language and stuff to make it
Yeah,
actually readable and playable.
yeah,
And I was playing a dwarven. Well, I did racist class. I was playing a dwarf fighter basically.
yeah,
And eventually, there's a throwing hammer that you can gain, which gives you +3 to attack and damage.
yep,
And I ended up doing that. And if I wasn't close by, I was just having him like swing and just chuck it, and then it would come back to me.
yeah.
And
I believe that's the
killed a
classic dwarven thrower. Yeah,
I killed a giant ant queen that way with just throwing the hammer like through its body. Well, I think it's like I predicted that it missed, and then it came back through its body into my hand.
that's cool. I'm a huge fan of dwarves. We need more dwarf representation in fantasy,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't play dwarves too often, but when I do, I really like that fighter trope with it.
yeah,
Almost like
understandable,
almost Gimli-esque, where it's like, that's still only gets us one.
iconic.
Yeah, because I don't even think I've because you can play as a dwarf in Horde Wars. I don't even think I've ever made a dwarf character though.
Oh, really? Maybe you'll have to fix that
Yeah,
next time. Next time you play.
I,
Yeah,
yeah. Now, I've played a lot of halflings. I've never played dwarves that often though.
gotcha.
Yeah, just interesting. So I remember like my favorite character halfling I made a she was a Viking tavern wench. So she was hot as hell, but she could like kick your ass basically.
Yeah, this is in Horde Wars, right?
Yeah, Horde Wars is what I'm
Yeah,
talking
where
about.
you
Yeah.
get two classes or whatever. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so she had tavern wench career and Viking career. So if you pissed
Gotcha.
her off, she got that extra ability where she can just go berserk and just tank damage like no other.
That's coming from the Viking half of the class.
Yeah, the Viking half. Yeah, the
Yeah,
tavern
yeah,
wench is more like the
yeah. Charisma,
persuasion.
yeah,
Yeah, charisma
social
and all
such
that.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
So I picked. She was like a short stack muscle mommy. I called her, and actually had a buddy do. He did like a little handmade drawing of like a little hand drawn bust of her, like
Gotcha.
actual
Cool.
like top half, not just bust. Like phrasing there.
I understood. I know what you're saying.
You understood. My audience, on the other hand, because I know who I interact with.
Yeah, you got to watch out.
Yep. Okay, you got all your Divine Chalice stuff right here listed.
Yep.
Ooh, a corrupted Excalibur. I immediately think Soul Calibur. How it's like you got
Yes.
all the different swords in that game.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So Arthur did not have a good time towards the end of his reign, and there were some things that were done that could not be undone, and it resulted in some really bad things happening to Camelot and his sword. So maybe the
Ooh,
players can redeem him, or maybe they'll just have to take him out. Who knows?
ooh. I actually like that there's a corrupted lovers locket because immediately I'm thinking about the whole ordeal between King Arthur and his wife, which was what, Lady Gawain?
Guinevere. Yes,
Guinevere. That's right.
that's exactly what this locket is. This is literally the locket that Lancelot gave to Guinevere as a mark of their secret love, and it is a very powerful item. But it is also it's also marked by their infidelity. Yeah,
Because that scene in Excalibur where I don't know if he actually did where he finds them, and he just
yeah,
stabs the sword right between them, and they wake up
yes.
and there's the sword right there.
It's a great scene. Yeah, fantastic. God, I love that movie so much. So good.
I mean, that was a powerful scene watching that. Yeah,
Yeah,
oh, sorry, I thought it kind of cut out for me for a split second, so I didn't know if I disconnected or not.
you're good. I think we're all still here. At least I
Okay,
am.
good. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I have to hotspot from my Wi-Fi here because we have Wi-Fi where
Oh,
the clubhouse has
gotcha.
Wi-Fi, but it's not the best. So Merlin. Okay,
Understood.
so Merlin's corrupted staff. So is I guess at the risk of spoilers, is Merlin still around in this?
Merlin is around, but he has been spoilers, but he has been trapped by Morgana in her tower of Dol Morwen, and she's basically sucking out his life and magical energy to make herself more powerful. So there may be an opportunity for the players to go in and rescue him and gain some of the knowledge that he's managed to accumulate over the many centuries.
All right. Oh, I just see another one of my buddies, JP Got Rockers over on Rumble. Let's catch his chats here. Uh, Gygax was also against players being magic users. I don't know if I think I may have heard that
True.
before, but that'd be interesting to be against magic users and yet having that as a valid option to play as, though.
I think his players bullied him until he was forced to put a magic user in the game, and then when he did, he's like, "Well, I'm going to make them as weak as possible, so they all perish before
Yeah.
they reach max level." Yeah,
I think this is going to Prince John. Once to be known as John the First, soon to be known as John the Worst. A pox on that scurvy king of England.
true, awful.
And then, oh, this is JP just making fun of my halfling characters. Oddly enough, hunters halflings all have hair on their palms instead of on the tops of their feet.
Can't imagine how that would happen.
I don't know either. It's like, but I never really pictured my halflings with hairy feet, though. That's just one thing. It's like,
Hmm.
But I also I've also have a very controversial opinion that dwarven women do not have beards.
I also share that opinion, but
Thank you.
Tolkien disagrees with us, so he might win on this one. I'm not sure.
I mean, Tolkien can have them all as one, but if I'm playing a dwarf, if I'm ever going to have dwarves in my game, and it's man and women dwarves, only the dwarven men will have the big long beards. The women will not.
That is my preference as well, but different strokes, different folks, I guess.
Yep. Ring of Knightly Temper, Sheath of Avalon. I really like some of these names.
Thank you. Yeah, a lot of these are just
So,
pulled directly from the Arthurian legend, so I can't really claim too much
oh,
credit.
here's an adventure: Tomb of the Headless Knight. Sir Gawain, the son of Lot's king of Orkney. Is that how
Yes,
that?
correct.
Okay, so
Yes.
I have a hard time reading some old English sometimes.
Who doesn't? It's kind of
Yeah,
wild what they're doing over there. Yeah.
but it's not as bad as how Morkborg does it, though. That's the difference.
Don't even get me started on Morkborg. That game makes me so angry, but I it's so popular. It's crazy. Yeah.
Now, here's the thing: Morkborg. I love the game. I love the simplicity of it. I hate the book designs, and the community is
Yes.
so toxic. Like I know,
I think I think we're all a little toxic in our own ways, but yeah, for me it's the
yeah, but
layout of the book. Yeah.
I
But
know Foxoff himself had a huge issue was when he was trying to share something on because he was on the Morkborg Discord server one time, and they were just like all over him for sharing it. And then I think they ended up banning him. He has a whole thing where he talks about it. on one
Oh
of
yeah,
his
I think I heard
videos.
a little bit
So
about that. That's a shame.
yeah,
That's no
I
good
mean,
news.
I'm banned from the server too for other reasons. So I mean, with the name I
Y'all
go
are
by, it's probably clear enough. So
y'all are wild, dude. Getting banned off all these discords.
yeah. Oh, I just saw another. You can really assume that Lancelot, the most loyal of all Arthur's knights, would go round on him. I don't know if Lancelot would actually be able to beat King Arthur in the fight, though. I feel like King Arthur would win.
In this version, that is definitely true. I don't know about the
Yeah.
canon version. Yeah,
Well, I mean, because also I think you had the what did they call the scabbard? That's what I'm thinking of. The scabbard also was supposed to protect King Arthur as well, as long as he wore it as well.
correct. Yeah,
Because the whole reason that in the actual King Arthur lore, the reason why Mordred was able to defeat King Arthur was because the scabbard slipped from his waist
yeah. I
during
think
the
in the
final
version that
fight.
I'm familiar, I think the version I'm familiar with, Morgana arranged for it to be stolen. Uh, yeah,
Oh, well, I guess there may be two. The version I heard was it was like Mordred and Arthur's armies went fought like on the battlefield. Arthur
yeah.
and Mordred were in combat, and at one point the scabbard slipped from his waist, allowing Mordred to
Gotcha,
deal the deathly blow to him that killed him.
gotcha. I mean, that also makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, not going to try to go read too much into some of this.
Yeah,
Your
totally
map
fine.
here. Yeah. See, I like these kind of simplistic maps that just they already have the like all the square layout and stuff for it, so that way if you're keeping track of it. I'm very much like an abstract movement kind of guy, just because I don't
Mm,
like VTTs all that often.
gotcha.
But it's like when I do have to use them, I like maps kind of set up like that for the most part.
Cool. Yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of Incarnate. I know a lot of people in the Shadow Dark community kind of poo poo it, and they want their very classic black and white, old school looking maps. But for me personally, I find Incarnate to be very easy to use, both making the map and also at the table. So I'm a big fan.
Yep. And then I'm not. I probably won't. Just I won't. If you want to talk about some of the stuff, then you can. I'm not going to read through every single thing, but just
Yeah,
showing off
sure.
your brief history of Albion, which is basically just your lore that you made for this game, basically.
Yeah, so the first part is like kind of how I tie into the Millennia Ago section is how I tie it into the world of Shadow Dark. And
Hmm.
then kind of the rest of it is more or less the same version that you'll see in the movie Excalibur, with some minor changes towards the end to make it work for the specific setting. But yeah, so there's actually a lot of parallels to what you might see in some of the existing King Arthur fiction. Again, with some changes made to tie it into Shadow Dark, and this particular Shadows of Camelot setting. Yeah.
So I don't know if you ever heard, if you heard about or played this, but there's a video game that came out not too long ago. It's called Tainted Grail,
I
and
did. I saw it. I haven't played it, but I have a friend who played it, and he told me all about the cool stuff.
yeah, and so it's very much similar to this, where it's like an
Yeah,
undead king, sort of King Arthur that's
yeah,
ruling Camelot, and you're trying to fight off the hordes and stuff. Hold on. JP Got Rockets here with another comment saying it's not old school unless it's blue school, and I think he's referring to
the maps. Yeah,
the maps,
the old.
or
Yeah,
there's also a. I know there were two different versions of Basic Expert, and one of them had a like it was like a white and blue cover. I think it was the Mulve is what I'm thinking of. I
gotcha.
could be wrong.
I feel like he's probably referring to the old school maps that were white and blue, as opposed to the black and white that we typically see in the Shadow Dark stuff. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm missing context.
Maybe. Who knows? Like again, I'm fairly new to like some of this older school gaming, but it's because it's funny because I started with Power by the Apocalypse, and then I just started to explore other games, and now here I am playing freaking like Zero E retro clones and learning how to use Thaco and all that.
That's funny.
It's like the guy who made Barrels. Oh, excuse me. Whew.
You're
Yeah,
good.
that almost came back up for a second there. Sorry.
That would be
The
bad.
guy who made Barrels. The guy who made Barrels of Borderlands actually released a little small document about how to use if you want to play Barrels of Borderlands using Shadow Dark system.
Oh, cool.
He is like, here's how you can do that to like switch it all around and all that. And like, because switching from Thacker to armor class is fairly easy. You're either
Yeah, it's the
subtracting from
same
19 or
math.
subtracting from
Yeah,
20.
right.
Yeah. And again, like and like in the main book, there's a whole Thaco table right there. And there's a Thaco chart that you have for all your character sheets as well. So it's very simple to
Yeah.
do. Right. But that is, yeah, that's only an 82-page book. So and
Yep, I tried to keep it
which is
relatively compact. Yeah, I wanted to make it kind of similar in size to Kelsey's Curse Scroll zines because those seem to be so popular. But a lot of people have since I've released it asked me like, "Hey, can you go back and add some more adventures to this?" which may happen at some point, but it's not in the immediate future.
Yeah. And then you also had something that kind of coincides with this. You have this class that you made, Knight of the Old Code.
Yeah, so this is a martial knightly class that is very heavily inspired by the old code that is referenced in the movie Dragonheart. For those who might be familiar with that older movie.
I don't know if I've ever seen that one. It sounds familiar though. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's a pretty awesome movie. It is a little bit dated at this point, but based on what you've told me about the stuff that you're interested in, the fact that you like kind of Cullen stuff, like those older kind of campier movies, you might actually really like Dragonheart. So maybe
I'm
consider
pretty
checking
sure
it
I
out.
will.
Yeah,
It's like I'm trying to. There we go. Fit into the page again. And then, because like I said, like I would imagine like it actually would be interesting to see because basically, in order for my idea to work with this, is for my Knight of the Old Code person in the party would be like a Knight of the Round Table that's trying to fight back its success. But in order for him to have lived so long, he would definitely need to be cursed in some way.
yeah. I mean,
So
there's
like
plenty of cursed knights in this setting, so there's definitely precedent for it. Also, you could
maybe
just
it's
shrink the timeline too if you needed to. Not that
yeah.
big a deal.
Or what? No, what I'm thinking of, like maybe like instead of like trying to fight back when it all started, he ran away, and so now he's cursed to live forever until he either he heals or defeats the land
I
kind of deal.
I think that's awesome. I think that's a great premise for a character.
Yeah. And the idea is like one of the partners, like especially since Merlin's kind of not a kind of around, kind of isn't. The
Mhm.
wizard character could be like his apprentice. So you have an apprentice wizard traveling with this Knight of the Round Table, trying to save the land, kind of deal going on.
Yeah, I think that actually ties in really well to some. There is a faction in the campaign setting. I won't mention which one that is closely tied to Merlin, and an apprentice character could either be from that group or could integrate with them pretty easily. So, like I said, there's
Yeah.
precedent for it.
Yeah, because there's a lot you can do a lot with this. Like you can even like if you wanted to just play all like different peak characters from that are part of the Merry Men, and you're running around with Robin Hood's crew maybe or something like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities for sure.
Yeah, that's what I really like, especially when you go into It'd be interesting though because then I think of like I own the book, but I forget what it's called. It's the Dungeon Damsels, Shadow Dark supplement book that she
Yeah,
made.
unnatural selection maybe
Yeah,
is
on
that it?
Netflix. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, because I like she introduces like you got like Drow are introduced in that. You got Tieflings introduced in that. Imagine like your like Tiefling character walking around throughout this world of Albion.
Yeah, I can't imagine they would receive too warm of a reception.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely one of those weird things. Like maybe whatever god this person's praying to says you have to come go here or something like that. Oh,
Yeah. There's a lot of ways you can get to Albion. I've heard people say that they've had their characters shipwreck on the island, and that's what's going on. I had another guy reach out and say that the PCs were under the employ of King Richard, who had received some. He got a bad feeling about what was happening at home, or maybe he got a vision or portent and sent them back home to check and see how things were going. Lots of cool ways to intro the setting.
yeah. Yeah, I'm just looking this over really quick, and
Sure.
yeah, just basically you're just kind of an almost basically like a very old school paladin type feel is what this gives off.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely there are some like supernatural elements to it, but it all stems back to following this code that they try to live up to. And like the old school paladin, if they ever break their code, then they lose a lot of their more powerful abilities.
Yeah, so I'm definitely more well, oh that did not come back for some reason. There we go.
We're
Didn't want to
back.
revert back to normal at first, so yep. Uh JP got rockets here with another comment saying hold on, it's not one of the there we go. Sean Connery does the voice of the dragon. The dragon's named Draco. American audience are so easy. Best line was "I am the last of my kind."
Yeah, dude, it's such a great movie. Big fan.
Now my computer's wanting to be slow on me now. It's driving me nuts.
No worries.
Hold on. I'm closing some stuff out so that way it's not trying to drag
Yeah, no problem.
everything. All right, and then you oh bake better with bacon has decided to join
Howdy.
the stream as well.
I feel like I've
Yeah,
seen that name
I don't
before.
if it's like you need to follow him. Yeah, he does a lot of like TTRPG philosophy type stuff is what I would say his stuff is. Oh, you're fine, Bacon. We still got about another 10, 20 minutes where we can go before I'll close it down and all that. Because another thing I want to ask him about was because you were working on another project
Yeah.
that you were also kind of running for a campaign to play test,
Yes.
and I want to hear more about that because I haven't been following that one as much as I was following Shadows of Camelot.
Sure.
So
Yeah. So I actually I just released a one shot, Wicked Witch of the Woods, which is a level 1 dark fairy tale adventure for Shadow Dark that I really intended to be run as like a Halloween one shot. So I think that would be a really good option for people who might be looking for something like that. But the one that I just started working on was called Reclamation of Dwarf Home.
all right, and then Hunter sadly closes the anime waifu tabs. JP God rockets. I mean, I don't need to have tabs when I store most of them on my phone if we're gonna go that route. So hold on. Insert sad trombone
Wah,
sound here.
wah.
Wah, wah, wah. Yeah. And you said that, so you put out a video, which I still had not seen it myself, so I
Yeah,
apologize for that, where it says like your campaign
yeah, how
failed.
dare you not watch my video the second that it comes out? No, I'm just kidding. Yes, yeah. So my Shadow Dark campaign failed, and here's why. And then I proceeded to talk for 20 minutes about why it failed.
So do you mind just, I guess, give me like the highlight for why it failed in your case, or
Yeah,
what
sure.
happened?
Yeah, there's a couple different reasons. One is that I kind of wanted to. So I like to run shorter campaigns. I know this is like anathema to a lot of people, especially in the old school community, but I like to run between 10 and 12 sessions long. That's the kind of the sweet spot for me personally. And I knew that I needed to start the campaign ASAP, or else we were going to start running into the holidays. And I found that many campaigns die over the holidays because just people lose momentum. They get all sorts of scheduling issues and stuff like that. So I was really rushing to get it out the door. So that was issue number one. Issue number two is that I also didn't get to do as much planning as I wanted to do prior to the start of the campaign because I felt very crunched in terms of time. Another major issue was I don't think that Shadow Dark is the right system for the type of campaign that I was trying to run with Reclamation of Dwarf Home. One second. I wanted to run a little bit more of a more linear, more narrative style of game. And I find that Shadow Dark and a lot of these old school systems are a little bit too lethal for that style of play. And they also don't facilitate the very cool, like, set piece boss battle type of scenarios that I really wanted to encapsulate with the campaign. So I think maybe I picked the wrong system to do it in. And then also, this is kind of tied into that. There was a pretty big disconnect from the type of game that I wanted to run with my players versus what I think a lot of the old school Shadow Dark community really wants to see. And we've already covered that a little bit. And I was finding it really difficult to get something that was going to meet my group's needs versus what also I thought the community would want. So I decided to take a step back from that project and reevaluate what I wanted to be working on next. Yeah.
Interesting. So I guess the first thing that popped in my head, because it's like you wanted something that's less lethal, but still kept that linear kind of storyline. Have you ever heard of a game called? I'm going to get so much. Excuse my language. I'm going to get so much
I'm
shit for
excited.
bringing this up. Have you ever heard of a game called
I
Dungeon
have
World?
that. Yeah, that is not. I like the more tactical, a grid based approach to things. So Dungeon World would probably not be the right system for this.
So you want to be because you don't want something that be like more Dungeon World, because the system it uses Power of the Apocalypse. It's more story
Correct.
focused,
Yeah.
more than anything. So you kind of want that sweet spot kind of in between.
Yeah,
is what it sounds
honestly,
like.
as much as people are gonna hate this, I think fourth edition would have been a great system to run this game in. But fourth edition is just kind of, it's not in vogue right now, and also it's not really well supported. Yeah. So I maybe I try my hand at Draw Steel. I have a couple different things I'm looking at, but it's not like front of mind. I'll probably work on something a little bit smaller first before I go back and revisit that campaign.
Yeah. I'm honestly not that interested in Draw Steel.
Most people
just
in
because
the
of all
community are not.
Yeah. But it's like, I've heard decent things. I've heard like mixed reviews about the game. I don't know what your thoughts are about Daggerheart. I know I did get the free SRD just because I wanted to read through for myself and kind of get that feel for it. When I was watching other people review the Daggerheart system, it was giving off a lot of like 4E vibes. It's like if you took 4E and tried to force Power of the Apocalypse with all the modifiers with it. is the vibe it
Gotcha.
gave
Yeah, yeah.
off.
I think that
And
I think everyone should look at it. I mean, I think it's a big cultural touchstone in the TTRPG hobby, even if it's not something that people think they're going to be interested in. Just being aware of what it is and how it works, I think is probably a good thing. But I have not got to check it out in detail yet. But it is something I want to look at, if not necessarily run. I just got to see like what it looks like.
yeah, and then I actually did get to play a 4E
Cool.
game several
Yeah.
weeks ago. My buddy Patty's
Mhm.
Patio Cakes. He was on vacation, but one of his friends and I we hijacked his Rumble
Okay.
channel, and we ran a Goodman Games used to release 4E stuff at
Mhm.
one point in time, and they had one that was a Death Dealer module
Okay.
based on the
Oh yeah.
Frazetta's Death
I actually
Dealer,
have
that
that painting
artwork.
somewhere. That painting is so yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I forget the exact name of the module, but it's like it came with
Cool.
pre-generated characters. And the game we're running is we had to try to get these refugees like out of this like castle dungeon, like where all these like dark creatures and warriors were like coming after them, and
That
we
sounds
were
cool.
fighting them. Now, this when playing it for the first time, the system itself and the mechanics itself were not bad. I actually kind of enjoyed it. It was the fact that in 2 hours we played, we only got through 8 rounds of combat.
Yeah, that can be a problem. The thing is, I like the combat, so I'm not mad if the combat takes the whole session.
Yeah.
So I'm probably a little bit different in that regard
See,
than most folks.
my thing issue, and this kind of the issue I kind of have with some of D&D as well, is just how much time combat
Yeah,
can take. Like, which is why with Shadow Dark, combat's not doesn't
it's
feel very
it's quick.
long. It's just like wham bam go,
Yeah,
wham bam go.
and there's definitely an
It's one
appeal to that too. Like, there's a reason I played so much Shadow Dark over the last 6 months to a year. It's a very easy system to get to the table and actually play.
Yeah, and it's I definitely want to introduce my son to Shadow
Yeah,
Dark at some point, but it's just because he's so young and this game is so lethal
yeah,
that I don't want
I
to
understand.
like eventually like at some point like yeah, son, your character's dead. You have to roll up
Yeah,
a new one now at some point. But my son is also at the stage where he's like he's in the beginning of elementary school and he's very emotional at the
mm,
same time. So
gotcha. Yeah, I can see why that would be
yeah,
difficult. Yeah, so
that's
it's
all
really you bring up something really
that
interesting because the system itself is very simple, but actually surviving in the
yeah.
game can be relatively difficult. So it's kind of a weird dichotomy. Yeah,
Yeah, I had dark vision. Not
not
anymore, you
anymore.
know.
Not at my table. No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
and then I had another thought and I just lost it now. Dang it. Because I was gonna bring up something else. So yeah, because the Hero Kids RPG
Mm,
I've been running on and off forum is it has like you can take like it's very much abstract where you can only take like so many hits before you're
yeah, that's
unconscious.
fine.
And then that's what
Yeah,
happens. You go unconscious and then you kind of it's like you go unconscious and then you revive
yeah, 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 yeah,
somewhere
yeah.
more than likely. That's how it is. Because again, you're running it for it's a game that you're
That's
supposed to run for
fine. And a
kids.
lot of these more modern
So
systems, like I
yeah.
think Fabio Ultima and Daggerheart, like you actually choose when your character goes to zero, you have like a couple of options you get to choose from, and
Yeah,
yeah,
with Fabio
like one of
Ultima
them's like you go out in a
especially.
blaze of glory, like your character's going to die 100%, can't be resurrected, but you do something really cool before you go out. And then there's another one where you like
Yeah.
you're safe, you can't die, but maybe something really bad happens to you in the story or something. Yeah,
Yeah. It's it's like I don't mind it, but I also find it just weird at the same time that you have to, that the book is trying to tell people like because if I was running Fabio Ultima and I was reading and I read that section where it's like, oh, the player characters can't die. I'm like, try and stop me
yeah. I mean,
because
it really
like
depends what kind of tone you want for your game. I think there's a lot of value in these OSR style games where things are very lethal and like death matters. And I think that's a cool way to play. But also, if you are playing one of these more narrative games where you have a character that's got lots of backstory and you've got like 100 sessions under your belt with this character, I understand why that is not a fun thing to lose and start over from scratch. It's just annoying sometimes too, like rolling a new character, bringing them back into the party, like reacclimating everybody. That can take up a lot of time in a campaign. That is not necessarily something that I want to deal with all the time.
yeah. Well, I mean, there is a big difference between rolling up a D&D character and then rolling up a
That
Shadow
yes,
Dark
and that
character
and because
for
Shadow Dark
sure.
is built from the ground up under the assumption that it's a very lethal
Yeah.
game and that you are going to have a lot of character deaths. And I think it plays great for that style of game.
And like then me playing Cold War so long, I can make a character in like 10, 15
Nice.
minutes like easily because you're not having to roll dice. You assign your points, you choose your careers, pick a feature, maybe two.
Yeah.
If you're a human, you pick a second feature. You choose which equipment you want. Now, the one thing I don't like is how the character sheet works. Although someone else made a different character sheet, which actually has everything organized, and then you can mark, okay, if this is a standard size, this is a bulky size, this is a
Hmm.
small size. That's how I would prefer that character sheet to be. Then where it's just one box, you type it all out, and then you got to remember which is bulky, which is small, which is standard,
Yeah.
all that. So I like some character sheets definitely like organization. So that's why I'm glad the person who made that character sheet to this day. So when I make characters.
Oh, gotcha. This is like a fan made character sheet. Is that what you're talking about, or is this
Yeah,
Todd's
this is
version?
someone in the Gilded server
Okay,
made this a
gotcha.
different version of the character sheet. It's 3 pages, which is not
Okay,
horrible, but it's
that's
because it's like
yeah, that's a lot.
but
But
it's
yeah, go
but
ahead.
but it's because you got your main stats and you got like all your features and your maneuvers on the second
Hmm.
page, and then the
Yeah,
third page is all your equipment that you write down. So that's why, because it
gotcha.
gives you sections for like because it's like you got the feature name, the what kind of feature it is, the effect of that feature, and then like how many times per day you can do if it's one of those things.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I definitely understand. Like there are tons of systems that have way more than that. For me
yeah.
personally, I think one page, just one side is great. But if you have to do one page front and back, like I could
Yeah.
deal with that too. But once you get above that, I'm like, I don't know, maybe not.
I would prefer if Shadow Dark did have a second page where you could just put out your what all your spells and your descriptions, because they don't really
Yeah,
have the box they provide for that
it's
alone. It's
very
not big
small.
enough. Yeah, it's a small box.
Have you considered doing? I think there's like print on demand spell cards that you can get off drive through. Maybe hand
I
those
have
out.
seen that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be a fun thing to have for like if you're like if as long as you have just one person playing like that class for a character, it's fine. It's
yeah.
if
You
you
could
have more than
also
one though. So
you
I
could
guess you
yeah
can share too.
yeah. Just go make the characters buy their own spell card packs. Like, we can make them do a little bit of work.
Yeah, I actually one day when I was doing a Barrels of Borderlands session, we were playing GM-less and using a Oracle thing, and it was oops all clerics. So we had a halfling
Nice.
cleric, a dwarf cleric, and an alien cleric. Because there was actually an alien race from one of the playtest supplements that one of the characters had used,
Okay.
and the alien, and then we were traveling through the world, and we're going to these mountains because it's like because we were like our gods have brought us together for a divine mission, and we're going to the mountain range. We were passing this lake, and a 8-headed hydra pops out,
Okay.
and
That
we
seems
try to
bad.
yeah, we so our first instinct is run away. Except the Hydra's faster,
Yeah.
so it's chasing us down. So I decided to stay and fight because one of my I in a previous adventure I used a halfling cleric in. He had these bandage wraps where I could basically do like the effect of a dragon breath on it, so I could literally
Okay.
punch someone for fire damage
That
and
seems
all
good.
that.
Yep.
So I basically became a divine iron fist. Is how I
That's
would
cool.
describe it.
That's cool.
And so, we didn't beat the Hydra. The Hydra ate the alien cleric and then ran off because it was full basically after that. So,
That'll happen. Yeah. But yeah, that sounds
and,
cool. I
and
love these themed groups, like when you have all of like
yeah,
one class, or you're all dwarves, for example, which is what Reclamation of
yeah,
Dwarfdom is going to be.
and
Yeah, I think
then
it's very cool.
there's a better part was because the halfling and the dwarf characters we end up being unconscious, so we're laying
Okay.
out there in the mountains, just kind of because in how in this game you can go below zero. So, but if you get the -10 hit points, you're now dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you're not there yet, you're just unconscious, but you're fine. Well,
Okay.
while we're unconscious, we rolled up. Who finds us? And a group of like 200 hyena men, basically gnolls,
Knowles.
find
Yeah.
us. And it's like, oh, these guys have magical powers. You're going to help us defeat this Hydra because we've been having issues with it. So we haven't gotten back to it yet. Still, so for
Hmm.
like months now, these two clerics have been in the mountains with this tribe of hyena men, figuring out how we're going to take down this now 9-headed Hydra because I took out one of the heads
Right.
with my fist before
I
it
I
ran
feel like
off.
I feel like 200 Knowles should be able to do some work on that
Yeah.
Hydra. Yeah.
Well, for that, I'm thinking we're going to use Castle Grief made a chainmail clone called Kill Chain, which is
Okay.
simplistic chainmail rules. So we're thinking if we do
Gotcha.
that, we're going to use those rules instead of trying to figure out like the
Yeah. Yeah.
combat rules for 200 gnolls.
Pass. Yeah.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah. I find myself, it's funny because we're talking about like different playstyles and stuff. I find myself now, because of who I am and the games I'm playing,
Hmm.
then this weird bro adjacent now, I would call it.
Okay.
Because
I saw your interview with, was it Scudder for Mike? Scooter for Mike?
Scudder for Mike, yeah, months
Yeah.
ago. This
Yeah.
was back because I had a major issue with the Brostar when I first got in. Because
Okay.
one of the things I will always argue against is I always argue against when people say there's a correct way to play. No, there's not.
Gotcha.
It's because if there is, there would not be this, there would not be this, there would not be this.
Gotcha.
It's like you
Yeah,
can't say
yeah.
there's a correct way to play when there's hundreds of games out there played different ways.
Yeah, I'm somewhat familiar with this group, and they do make some very declarative statements about what is best. But I also think that it's mostly rhetorical, like it's a rhetorical technique, just so they can more clearly
Now,
communicate their
now
ideas.
there
Yeah,
there are some guys that do argue about it in good
yeah,
faith, and I give
yeah,
praise to them. But then
yeah.
there's assholes, excuse my language again.
That's
And that was
fair.
one of the issues I was having a major problem with. And Schedule for Mike was
Yeah,
one of the few that started talking to me. Was like, hey, just ignore these guys for a moment. Let me tell
yeah,
you about what it is. And so,
yeah,
and then I basically what I said was, okay, if this is how, if you were wanting me to listen to you, then how about you come on my show and we have a talk about the Pro SR and what you guys are
yeah.
supposed to be about. And that's kind of what brought up that whole conversation. And I've
I
actually,
enjoyed that interview quite a bit. I thought it was good.
yeah, he's a great guy. I still follow him. I talk to him. I love his
Yeah,
because he does Shadow Dark, Old School Essentials, and all
yeah.
that too as well. And I actually got to play one of the things instead of we do in Barrels of Borderlands, we have Bronsteins every now and then, but they're called Barrowsteins
Yeah, I
because
think
I take
Kieran
place.
Foxoff was telling me about some of
Yeah.
that stuff going
So
on. Yeah,
if you, I don't know if you do you follow Dundermoose at all?
I think I've seen a couple. I think I saw the stream he was on with Harmony, and they were interviewing Kelsey. I think that's the only
Yeah.
thing I've seen from him.
So
Yeah,
yeah, Dundermoose is one of like those main Bro SR guys, but he's basically like Scudder for Mike.
yeah.
He's one of the more positive figures in that, in my opinion.
Uh-huh.
But he brought all of us that were in that first Barrowstein game that we played in, we all came on and we talked about it, which is funny
Oh,
because I
cool.
had two. See, the first character I gave, he ended up dying due to just a random thing that happened. So I was given a second
Okay,
character, and then that character later on died as well. So,
that's how it goes, man.
but it was
That's
just
how
a
it
fun
happens.
thing. It was a
Yeah,
fun thing, just having fun because like there's stuff like I'm okay with one-to-one time depending on the game you're playing. Like in the Barrels of Borderlands
yeah.
system, at least on the Discord server, we do use one-to-one time. He has a calendar that we use to like, hey, if you're going to do a solo game, use this calendar, mark what days you did everything on, and all that. So that way, we could keep track with it, kind of deal.
I
Because
think
there's
that makes
stuff
a
that,
lot of sense for these larger open table games with lots of players. I think one-to-one time makes a lot
yeah.
of sense.
And
But
I
it's not
became
it's
the
not the
ref.
right answer for everything. But yeah.
Yeah, and I became the. I recently got referee privileges for that server, so now I can
Oh,
actually just
cool.
run official games in there. And one of the things that he does is it's not just Bears of Borderlands. There's portals to play other games with. So there's like Hyperborea.
Oh,
There's
interesting.
Arduin. I'm trying to think. There's Empire of the Petal Throne, which is like an old one. It was like the
Yeah,
second
I
RPG that
remember.
came in. Yeah, I and actually oh, have a good night, Gaddafi. He's saying good night really quick, and then
Bye, Gaddafi. Thanks for coming.
I actually did play. We did an Empires of the Petal Throne game, and I actually
Yeah,
have a character creation video where I made a character, and my roles were. I'm sorry for my language, but they were just dog shit.
that'll
But and I,
happen.
but I decided, you know what? I'm going to play with this guy. So I played as this like big old tubby magic user with like no strength, barely any dexterity. But I gave him the best way to go because towards the end of the game, we're running away from like these snake cultists. So they were
Okay.
like kind of like a you want kind of like UNT kind of guys where there's like
Yep.
half snake
Yep.
humanoids, and runs across this brittle bridge like it's cracking underneath us as we're running across.
Okay.
I
Classic.
stop half. I stop halfway. Everyone gets across. All the cultist snake guys go on the bridge,
Uh-huh.
and I tell Matt who was running the game, I jump, and we all fall into the lava below.
You shall not pass. This is a classic. I love it.
Yeah. So that was just it's like because I'm like I don't know if I want to play this character again, and who knows when I'm going to play this. So I'm just going to give him the best ending ever.
Hey
So
man, that's
he's
awesome. I love that.
So I took out Colt and rescued the party. But another funny thing from that game was there's these thing called they're called eyes, which are like these magical gems. And so we got two of them at one point, but the characters didn't know what they did. So one of the characters pointed his eye at the cultist, thinking it was going to attack, hit the
Mhm.
button on the back of it, and transported it out of there into a completely different city.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Like the apartment he lived at, it transported him there. And he was like, "Son of a bitch!" It was just, yeah, I can just go on for stories because it's just games like that because it's that I look forward to. And then like this is just on the pile of different games I want to do like solo playthroughs with because
Awesome. Yeah, I'd love that. That'd be great.
because I got to finish the Barrels of Borderlands dungeon crawl I did because I have like two more videos of that. I also got the Mafia game I started running that I want to continue on for a little bit
Okay.
because that one's based a lot about on the Mafia 3 video game. It takes place a few years after the events of that.
Okay. I'm not familiar
So
with that. Yeah.
it's basically kind of like a it's kind of like GTA 5 ish, but you're playing. But in Mafia 3,
Yeah.
you're playing as like a guy that's trying to take down the mob currently because
Okay.
they basically killed like his whole family, and it takes
That.
place like it's like during it's like the United States after the Vietnam War, so there's still like the racism and all that that's still kind of happening
Yeah.
at the same time. You're fighting against like on top of like the Italian mafia, the Irish mob. You're also fighting against like the KKK. You're fighting against the Dixie Mafia. There's
Oh, that's
literally a
so
game.
interesting. Yeah.
There's actually a part of the game where you actually sneak into a KKK clan rally and you just start mowing them all down.
What is this? This is the game Mafia.
Mafia 3 is
Okay.
the name of this game. It's because there's two other games that came before it.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it does sound GTA adjacent, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very much GTA-ish, but with like an actual storyline and stuff that happens with it.
Gotcha.
The game I'm playing it takes place 3 years later after like because there's a couple different endings and there's one where it's like the guy that you play as just takes over and just rules over all, and
Hmm.
that's the ending I'm going with. So I'm playing as like I'm playing as a couple different excuse me.
Don't get
No,
sick. That's not allowed.
not like Punisher. JP got Rockets, different game. Although the Punisher video game was a lot like the Max Payne video game with the art style and the gameplay, with the exception of like the final with like the mechanics where Punisher had, where you just how you straight up like do like killing blows on the enemies.
Okay.
It's
Interesting.
old school Punisher game.
Gotcha. I must have missed
Yeah,
that one.
yeah. I grew up. I had Nintendo 64, original Xbox, and now I have a Xbox 360 where I only play Skyrim and Bioshock Infinite on now. So
That's so funny. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
that makes sense. I'm mostly playing a lot of older games recently as well. Um, but occasionally a new one will slip in for a while. But I have a lot of love for some of the older games from the early 2000s. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna call it a night here only
Okay.
because I know right now another guy I follow, the Dungeon Delver, runs
Okay.
a first edition Gamma World game on Friday nights. So I
Cool.
always like to tell people about go to the Dungeon Delver on YouTube, and you can watch him running first edition Gamma World. With have you ever played Gamma World at all?
No, I have not.
There's like several different versions, but basically it's kind of like it's basically post apocalypse, but it's like mutants and all that too. So
Gotcha. Cool,
and
man.
yep, and so Will, my buddy Runeforged, where can everyone find you?
At Runeforged Tabletop Gaming on YouTube and Substack, and then I can send you a link to my link tree maybe and pop it in the description, and or not.
Yes.
That's fine.
No,
If it's complicated, don't worry about it. But yeah, you
no,
can find
just
me
throw
every.
that. No, just throw that to me, and I'll make sure I put it in the description because I don't because Restream does it's weird with the description, so I always have to do it like post after.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, okay.
So,
It's not a big deal. But yeah, at Runeforged Tabletop Gaming on YouTube, Substack, and Drive Through RPGs where people can find me.
and I think you're on X2, right?
I am, but I don't use it a lot. I don't use it a lot, but I do have one technically.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, just go ahead and follow him on X2. He could use the follows and get increase popularity, so that way we can get more great Shadow Dark stuff. Because, like, literally in this tote I have below me, this one side of it is all Shadow Dark material I've bought over
Nice.
the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's
So,
a very
because
cool game for sure.
it's a great game, and I remember when I finally started looking through it, I'm like, why did I not play this sooner?
It's still relatively new, so I think
Yeah,
you got him pretty
it
early.
and it came out at the best time too with the OGL scandal happening.
Yeah, for sure. There was
Yeah.
definitely some fortuitous stuff happening. But
Did you
yeah,
back West Marches? Because I did.
I did back. I think that might be the only thing that I'm backing right now. I think I did back Righteous Vow Volume 3 by Bill Harvat and his team over at Call Club. But other than that, I think those are the only two things I'm backing right now.
Yeah,
So
I got
not common.
there's a Western one called Shadow West I backed.
Okay.
There's the recent one is Shadows of the Star Knight, which is Star Wars for Shadow Dark,
I saw
basically.
that one. Yep, that was
Which I
in the
got that one
newsletter.
too. And then I'm waiting on this bestiary. It's the Shadow Finder bestiary I also backed, which is the guy who took all the Pathfinder first edition monsters and
Yep.
just converted them to Shadow Dark. And
William MB. Yep. Yeah.
he's got a Pathfinder. He's got a Shadow Finder like player's guide he's got now. I'm
I
not
saw
going to
that.
use that because I'm not that interested in like Pathfinder stuff. But I
Same.
did like just more monsters be able to do is always great. So
Yeah, it was definitely a very popular supplement. I saw it made quite a decent chunk of money on Kickstarter, which is awesome.
yeah,
Congrats to him and his team.
yeah, Shadow Dark stuff always usually gets back regardless. Now it seems like these days.
Yeah,
I don't
there
think
have been
I've
a lot of successful
yeah
Kickstarters for sure.
I've never seen one unsuccessful Shadow Dark Kickstarter, to my knowledge at least.
Gotcha. I'm sure there've been some, but yeah, it seems like there are several big ones that have done really well. So definitely a fertile space for creators.
And then, as always, you can find me, the Ultra Mega TTRPGer, YouTube, Rumble, X. And then I also got my own little merch now, Tabletop Frontline, which I don't know if
Nice.
you've seen it.
That's
Kind of a little,
cool.
yeah, the dragon, the sword going through the dragon's head with wearing a wizard hat, kind of
Very
self-explanatory, I think, right there. So,
very cool.
and yep, and I will post a link. Excuse me, I will post a link in the description as well for this. And I think if your first order, if you buy this and a coffee mug, you get like 10% off your order. So,
Nice.
well,
Awesome.
thank you.
Well,
Thank, yeah,
thanks, Hunter. I appreciate you having me on. Hopefully, we can do it again sometime in the future.
definitely. Like even just to talk, or heck, maybe you may have to just do a one-on-one thing and just run this for me sometime to start getting you
Maybe.
to do that. So I'll just make a whole party, and it'll just be you and me. So
Okay,
that may
well,
be.
let's talk about that. I think there's a couple other people that might want to get in, but yeah, we should let's
It's like
discuss it.
forget about them.
All right, cool.
It's like, all right. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us tonight. And also stick around. 10 p.m. is my buddy Lord Mateus and Gary's second watch stream, where they always have talk about some TTRPG topics. And that's always at 10 p.m. Central. And I always have to make sure to shout them out too. So, all right. And actually, if you want to, Will, if you got to run, go ahead. I just remembered I have one more announcement I got to make. So,
I do. I got to run, but I really appreciate it, and we'll talk soon.
all right. Good to see you again, Will.
All right. Have a good night. Bye.
All right. And so, my final announcement I have is as you all know, there's been a lot of stuff that's been happening in the world lately. And that has really kind of lit a fire under me. And if you want, and I've talked about this in the past on other videos before, so if you want to hear my thoughts about that, go and watch that. Well, because of this, my thought process has now been is that I want to try to make more voices be heard that are part of this hobby that are like more moderate and conservative. So tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central Time will be the very first episode of the Ultracast. And I don't have a picture of that on me right now. Let me see here. Did I save the image or no? Well, no, I'm trying to see if I saved the image or not. I apologize. Hold on. Oh, here it is. See if I can share this image here. Yep, this will be the very first. Let me change myself around here. Yep, so this is the kind of like the logo that I just quickly threw together a couple weeks back for the Ultracast, which is going to be just me and some other again moderate conservative voices also in this hobby that we're going to talk about both RPGs, and there will also be some political discussion as well. So it'll be about hour and a half at least. Just a good way to start off your Saturday if you want to, where we talk about games we're playing, games we're looking forward to for the first half, and then the second half will be talking about maybe like we'll either talk about like maybe a political topic that happened that week, or just kind of like what we think about everything that's going on our minds. And so I wanted to do this because I want voices really need to be heard now more than ever. We cannot that we no longer can afford to be silenced or to be dormant. So again, tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central Time will be the very first episode of the Ultracast, and I hope to see a lot of you all there as well. So let me get this away. All right, and so again, that's the last thing I had to share. Again, the Dungeon Delver is currently running Gamma World on his stream. So if you want to go over to his YouTube channel and watch that, you can. And then once again tonight at 10 p.m. Central over on Lorma Tase's channel, it's him and Gary doing another episode of The Second Watch. All right, thank you all for joining me, and I hope you all have a great weekend.